use substitution to solve the system. Remember, a system of equations is a group of equations that interact with each other. Our job is to find out what the x's and the y should be, so that when I plug them in here, they give me these numbers. In other words, we're solving. So we're finding for the value of x and the y. That works for both equations. This is a system of two equations. So if you're going to use substitution, what you do is you pick one of the equations, it doesn't matter which one, and you solve for one of the variables, and it doesn't matter which one. So we're going to go ahead and pick this equation. Notice this was the equation 2 we had, and we're going to solve for y. So we're going to get the y by itself. So you do your algebra, you get your y by itself. Once you have the y by itself, once you solve for y, then this portion you substitute it into equation 1. So something very important. If you solve for a variable using equation 2, you don't do the substitution in equation 2. If you were to do that, you would get something like 1 equals 1. You wouldn't get information about the x and the y. So if you solved for a variable using equation 2, the substitution is going to go into equation 1, the other equation. So here's the other equation. So we found out what the y was. It was this. So you plug it in, it replaces the y. Now notice the advantage of the substitution. After the substitution, you only have one variable to worry about. So you solve for that one variable. So notice only one variable to solve for. That was the idea behind the substitution. So you solve for the variable x, so you collect and combine like terms, isolate the variable, in this case x. So you move all the numbers away from it. Finally, the x is all by itself. You have solved for the x. Simplify. And now we know that the x equals 4. So since you found the x equals 4, this was going to help us find the y. So you're going to toss this number back into the system. This time it doesn't matter into which equation. Pick one of the equations to substitute the x equals 4 into. So you substitute it into the x, because this was x equal 4, so you replace the x with it. And now notice you could solve for the y. So you do your algebra, isolate your y. And your y equals -7. So the solution is 4, -7. Remember, you always put the x first and then the y. And also remember that when you have a system of equations, and now that you have a solution, the interpretation of the solution is, if you were to draw those graphs of those equations, this is where they would intersect. And we call the point of intersection, if you were to graph these, you call that a solution.